She's Olivia and she's Charlotte, and together they are the Sisters Pair. In tonight's episode, Charlotte asks Olivia lots of questions around her addiction. A lot of the topics and conversations that this leads to may be triggering for some.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would ask is, when did you first know he's an alcoholic? I remember being 18 years of age. A lot had gone on, and I can't tell you how I found out about this meeting, but I found out about an AA meeting in Wolverhampton. And I can't remember how or where it come about or whatever, but I just remember I was 18, I was still living at home, and I was going to this meeting. I remember, I don't know why, but I think my car wasn't working. I might have gone on the bus.
Yeah, is that when you had your mini?
Yeah, I think I might not have. I think my car wasn't working. I just remember going on the bus, and I went into, what's that place called now? Not the Prince Albert. Anyway, this bar that used to be open when we were younger. And I bear in mind we're going into an AA meeting, but I went to have some Dutch courage before I went in. I had about 5 drinks in this one place, doing what I used to do best, talk to loads of random old men about shit. And then I remember walking into this AA meeting, and I sat down, and it was really, I didn't know what to expect. I never heard about it. It was just something you listen to on the movies, Alcoholics Anonymous, all this. I remember sitting down, and it couldn't be more like something you watch off a movie. There's a bloke at the corner of the table, slumped with his head like this, just gone. But then there was just a massive mixture of other people, and it was all different types of people. And they gave me this chip, and they started talking about God and all these different things, and the 12 steps, and it just baffled my brain. So I walked out and went back to the bar.
Right.
And then I come back in, and Mum says, "Where you been?" I said, "I've been to an AA meeting." And Mum's, "Oh, well done, well done." And I'm just like, "I'm going back." But yeah, so I knew early on.
But do you think Mum knew at that point? That's why she's saying.
I don't think Mum realised always how bad it was.
Yeah.
Because I remember having glandular fever at school during 6th form. So I was off school.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember it being around the time after Christmas. So there's loads of drink in the house. And I was just drinking all the drink in the house from morning till night, just chucking the empties under my bed. And not going to 6th form, not going to lessons. I think I was meant to go on holiday with my friends, and I cancelled the holiday, but still paid for it and stuff, just because I was just out of it. And I remember them thinking at the time it was because of a boyfriend, and it wasn't. It was because I was literally couldn't stop drinking, couldn't get my shit together.
Crazy.
But when I look back as well, and I think about my first early memories of alcohol, and knowing what I know about an alcoholic brain now, I remember I'd have been about 14, 15, and it was around that time that you drink over the park with your friends, and we never even got ID'd, and we'd get ID'd, but they'd just get away with it.
It's a different game now,
completely different now. And I brought this bottle of wine, and that bottle of wine back then would get me pissed. And I was probably about 15. I remember walking down the road with this bottle of wine and dropping it, and it smashing everywhere. And it felt like somebody had just run me over, or somebody had really mentally hurt me.
Yeah, because I took that away.
I was like, because I had no more money. I was a kid. I'd robbed money off mum or whatever to get it in the first place, and I was having a Chinese or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't cope. And it ended up me having bits of everybody else's drink and
Which is
mixing the
probably
drink.
a lot worse, isn't it?
And I got slaughtered. I was smashed. But yeah, I look back and remember that feeling then, and I was like, Christ. So I definitely, it was in me from an early age.
Did you think it was wrong then that you felt that way? Did you recognise it then?
No, not until later on in life, later on in my teens, about 18. But even then I thought, oh, it's just a phase, I'll get out of it.
Yeah, I think as well if there's no one around you telling you it's wrong or really picking up on it. Because your year, I do think, was a very drinking year.
What, our school year?
Like, I think it was very much like every Friday, Saturday down the pub getting pissed. It was a very, like I say, drunken year. So I think if everyone around is getting sloshed. Also, you could be absolutely sloshed, but they're just a bit pissed. But because they're pissed, they probably don't realise how bad you are.
Yeah,
and things like that, like, I suppose.
My friends knew I was mentally crazy. Like, that just mentally weren't right, I think.
But then I do think, no offence to the girls in your year, but they weren't.
Yeah,
they were a bit nuts
we
as
were
well,
all
weren't they?
wild, and we were all wild, and we were all nuts, but I think they could see there was something more underlying. But it was an age where we didn't really talk about mental health like we do today, and
I do think that's an age as well where people say like, oh, you're supposed to be a bit more wild and go out and do stupid things because you're 18, like.
And we aspired to be Effie off Skins, but when you actually watch Effie off Skins, she's psychotic with all these different mental disorders, who's a raging addict. But we aspired as kids to be like her.
I have no idea who you're on about. Say your word for it.
Effie Skins. My age group will know what we're on about, but she was just literally this character that was off a nut all the time, putting vodka on her cornflakes, taking all these drugs, doing these mad things. But in the series Skins, she was perceived as the sexy, cool one, but really she was just mentally broken and nuts.
Yeah.
But that was how it was seen. So a lot of people looked up to wanting to be like that, I suppose.
Which I think is a bit bad, because if they're put in, you just see like the sexy, beautiful side of her. But and it's like you relate the two together, and it's like, oh, I've got to be an alkie, a druggie, to be able to be like that. It's weird.
It was seen as being like the edgy and different ones, and I think because I never really fitted into a certain. I was always a bit different, I suppose.
Yeah, it's all
in my interests and everything. It was kind of like being different, but being accepted by being like that. It's hard to explain, but it was mental, and I lived for the weekend. So as a teenager, it'd be like, right, who can I shag on the weekend? How can I get my vodka? And that'd be about it. And I remember little things, like I remember taking vodka and a water bottle to school and stuff like that.
And it's mad, like I think, like you see people in the pub, say,
pardon me,
and even like the people that are like 18 to 20, and I'm what, 25, and I look at them and I think they're babies. So you think how young you must have been, like, do you know what I mean? And you relate that, like I'm in the pub and I'm like, no way can I legally drink, and it's like my mates are like, no, they're like 20.
I'd be 15 years of age in Yates's, sitting on 35-year-old men's knee. It was fucked.
But do you think in those situations, like, do those 35-year-old men must know you are young? Like, even if you're of age, they must know you are barely pushing it.
Yeah.
Which is really quite...
I don't know. Well, I think we were kind of one of the last generations to get away with borrowing your older sister's or your older mate's ID.
See, I got away with it, with your ID, but then I was like...
Did you have my ID?
Yeah, not often, because you'd got a new ID but still had your old one. I think it must have been you preferred. There was some sort of reason why you still had your old one, and I remember in your old one you had dark hair.
Yeah.
and you basically looked exactly like me on this photo. But then, so it was always me, but it was like literally like it was on the cusp. It was like the last year where everyone that was 17 was turning 18.
Yeah.
And it was only really me that, because they were like
I don't mind you mentioning them.
Doesn't would know that. Because they were like the early ones in the year. I was like the only one underage that got in. Everyone else got pushed back. So yeah, I think.
See, I remember we'd queue up to go in, and then we'd be like, right, what's our ID star sign, and working out the star sign and the middle name and the date of birth. And then when we got to the front, honestly, bouncers would just look at it and go, yeah, go on, most of the time. They didn't care, they just wanted to, they didn't care. No. And I just remember thinking back then as well, like, situations put yourself in, have no fear. And I think as teenagers, we had no awareness of like the outside world. Where now, I'd be scared to go clubbing at my age now and risk of getting stabbed or whatever. And
but it's different. It's like on Common High Street at the moment, isn't it? That story with the stabbing.
Yeah.
It is like I'd be scared to be a bloke now going out, because the amount of like dangers that could go on.
But then you hear like rape and sexual abuse and all that's on the rise, and I look like my teenagers and certain all this lots of situations that I've been in with men is on the cusp of
But if you think
of abuse. But the thing is, in our heads, we were like, well, we're drunk, so it's acceptable. We was drunk, so it's acceptable. And I look back and some of the situations.
Well, it's like if you're a drunk girl and you're on a night out and you meet a lad and you go back and that lad's also drunk, technically it's still rape. If you went to like a court of law, it would be, wouldn't it? It'd be like, well, the girl was drunk, she didn't know what she was doing. Did she consent?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you whether I consented. I couldn't tell you nothing. I was that out of it. I could not tell you.
And again, if you got older men that are, say if you were sleeping with those 35-year-olds or whatever it is, like it's an even like another thing, isn't it? It's like, why these older men wanting something with a girl that can barely stand?
Well, I lost my virginity to somebody who was over the age of 18 and I was 15.
And yeah, but again, like it just.
But then that was just acceptable when we were that age. We went out with lads that were 2 to 3 years older than us. It was just standard what the girls of our generation did.
And I think it's like a hard line, because like say if you're 16 and 18,
that's classed as legal though. 16's classed as legal.
Oh, like 15 and 18, say. Yeah. It's like 3 years now isn't like not even a big difference at all, but 3 years back then, 3 years when you're younger, it's a massive age gap.
Yeah.
And it creeps me out.
It's just very different ways back then. But anyway,
we've got acceptable.
So off topic. Yeah. No, it doesn't. And so yeah, I knew early on I had a problem. But it would be around the age of 18, 19. I'd be like, yeah, I'm a full blown alcoholic. What the friggin' heck do I do about this?
Yeah. So what did you do about it then? What was it? The thing at 18, 19?
For a long time, I battled with trying to moderate. I spent years trying to moderate, and I just couldn't. In my head, it was like, I'm young. I'll be able to moderate, and then I remember when I had Layla, and just drinking throughout the days and finding any excuse to drink, any opportunity.
But did you, when you was pregnant with Layla, you didn't drink then, did you?
Not as well.
Which is mental. But then, when you gave birth to Layla, at what point did you start drinking again?
About a week after. Probably before that.
Which is crazy. Like, why do you think you?
I don't know, but you hear about a lot of addicts that do that, and they literally are sober for 9 months. I think your brain chemistries change, your hormones change, but I was psychotic during that pregnancy.
In what way?
My mental health was just nuts. And then when Layla was born, 100% I had undiagnosed postnatal depression. Used to hold her little tiny baby up to the window all the time, looking at her eye colour constantly, thinking, is it John? Is it her dad's? Is it thinking? Like, is it? Because I got pregnant around the time where I was just nuts, and I was self-harming when Layla was a baby.
Yeah, I remember that.
Self-harming. I was just, crazy. I was making myself sick after meals. I'd starve myself all day. I'd eat and one meal on the night and then go and throw it up. I look back and it was mentally, I was doolally. I might not have been as drinking so much, but my mental health was horrendous.
Yeah, and I think obviously you've got the postnatal depression. There's the pressure stuff that women go through once they've had a baby, and then you've got your mental health on top of it. It's not really.
It just blew up, and I couldn't have my same antidepressants as I was on when I got pregnant, so I had to change medication, which didn't help. And
what is that?
I can't remember now. It's something in it that could have been awful for the baby.
I
think.
Okay, yeah.
But then as well, the relationship I was in was just a mess. I didn't know where to turn from left, right and centre. It was just horrendous. And then broke free from that relationship and then met somebody that seemed free in my eyes looking back. This person seemed like they could do what they want, go out partying and everything, have fun and it'd be fine. And because I'd been in a relationship that was so restrictive for so long, but then that just gave me the green light to just hit the F it button, and I was just drinking all the time. Because obviously then me and Layla's dad had separated, so when he'd got Layla, that was it. I was just off on one. And then I went into rehab the first time, and then I come out, and then it was just in and out. And then those years was just in and out of rehab and detoxes, going from one hiccup to the next.
Yeah.
But you wake up when you're an alcoholic, like you literally wake up in the morning, or whatever time you wake up, the first thing you think about is, how am I going to get a drink? How am I going to feel better? Because you're withdrawing, you're physically dependent on it, so you're withdrawing, and you know a drink's going to make you feel better. And I used to think, right, just have a couple to take the edge off. But then once that is in your system...
Yeah, but you've already got those couples in your system, I suppose, haven't you? So if you're topping it up...
and it was just constant. But the obsession, even if I'd managed to scrape a couple of days sober, the obsession, it would eat you from the inside out. No matter what was going on around you, all you could think about was, I need this drink. Imagine you putting your phone in a drawer for a few days.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
And but you can't. You wouldn't know what to do with yourself, is what I mean.
Yeah.
You'd be like, because you're so used to having your phone, scrolling TikTok. But on top of not knowing what to do with myself, it's that mental obsession, and also my mental health. So my anxiety would be through the roof. And the way the reward system works in your brain, alcohol feeds off that reward system. So your brain knows that by having a drink, you're going to feel better. That's what your brain's telling you.
Yeah, so and then once you're coming off it as well, it's just like the worst depressant ever.
Yeah, and your brain is telling you need to have a drink, because you know that dopamine's then is going to help this, but it just doesn't obviously work like that. It's how the neuroplasticity works in your brain.
Would you say out of all like alcohol, drugs, different types of drugs, would you say alcohol's the worst in your opinion?
So I've done crack, I've done heroin, I've done cocaine, done different pills and that when I was younger. Alcohol destroys families. Alcohol is probably the worst mentally.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all horrific. Drugs for me was, I'd go on a massive binge and then the come down, especially from crack cocaine. The crack cocaine, once you start smoking it, you're obsessed. It's pipe after pipe after pipe after pipe. But then all of a sudden, I'd crash and I'd come out of a binge, and then I'd drink to deal with the come down and then get back on the drinking cycle. But drink has brought me to my knees more than any other drug has. But it's all obviously horrific.
Do you think part of that's like the accessibility of it more than drugs? Or do you think that's not an issue? Because I get that.
I think when you get into that world of drugs, you can get it. But I think with me, because I'd always drink, even if I was smoking crack, I'd still be drinking. So I think it all depended on how much I'd had to drink with how much I wanted crack.
Yeah. Because from my perspective, I see alcohol as it's very normalised. Like, you can just go down, like, 30 seconds down the road and go to a bar and you get as smashed as you want. But if you're taking things like crack and stuff, to me, you have to go out your way. You have to go out your way to find it.
I get what you mean.
So from my perspective, like, I don't know, I'm not in that world, genuinely, not just for the sake of this, I've never touched drugs in my life, so I don't know, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, it is, and I think it depends who you're hanging around with as well at the time. There's certain people that I knew straight away I'd be smoking with or whatever, and I think as well is you get this, you can get, when you can associate drink with beer gardens and sunshine and happy times and all that, but when you think of, or when I think of crack cocaine, I just think of being dirty in crack dens because that's where I used to smoke it, you know what I mean? So if I was sober and I was to relapse, it would always be straight back to the drink because my brain had tricked me into it being a nice thing because it is socially acceptable.
It probably is a normalisation, isn't it?
It is, because it's seen as socially acceptable. In the past, now, when I think of alcohol, I think of me dying in my house with that horrific pain and feeling that comes with it. But before I worked on my mental health and all that side of things, the sun could shine and I'd be like, beer garden, it's acceptable to have a nice cold glass of Chardonnay. And the fact that I'm a fucking nut job and I'm an addict and I can't control having a glass of wine goes out the window, and it would be just like, and that's how I'd start. If I relapse and stuff, if I'd like actually got a bit of clean time, if I relapse and stuff, it would tend to start with me walking into a pub and sitting in the beer garden pretending we're absolutely fine. It's like me trying to test myself, I'm fine, look, I'm fine. But then on the way home, I'll be picking up a bottle of vodka and I'll be gone like that. And that's the thing as well. Your addiction, every time you relapse, it doesn't get better. Your relapses get worse and worse because you just pick up from where you started. And that's how a lot of people die as well. You hear about these people that have been sober for 10, 15, 20 years and they relapse. But they relapse thinking they can drink as much as they could before. But they can't, and their body can't tolerate it. They have a heart attack and they're dead. Because your brain, it doesn't take much for that that switch to go off in your brain where you're like, boom, straight back at it.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, I always say, as an addict, I could have another relapse in me, but I don't know whether I'd have another recovery. So why risk it?
Yeah.
Because I generally, and hand on heart, say this now, I believe if I relapsed, I'd die.
I think you'd be dead. I don't know how you survived half the stuff you
because
did
I don't, the thought of going back there to feeling like that after feeling this good for so long, I don't know how I'd cope with it. And that's not saying you can't come back after a relapse. I help many clients coming back after relapses after they've been clean for a long period of time and stuff. But for me personally, sitting in now, the thought of feeling the way I used to feel again, I just couldn't imagine it. It's so, my mental state is so far away from what it used to be like. I look back and think, how did I cope with that? How?
I think you just do when situations happen like that. You can't, you don't choose to be in those situations, do you? They just sort of happen.
No. It was horrific, man. It really was horrific. So what would you say is your breaking point, or the moment that you were like, I need to sort everything out now? It wasn't. It was literally the universe did it for me. I'm not even joking. So my key worker was trying to get me in treatment for ages, and we'd be putting it off a week and then going back to it, going back to the panel board and all this sort of stuff. But bear in mind, I've already done a 3-month rehab treatment in the past. I've been 4 months in another treatment place, in and out of dry houses and things like that as well. And I was just like, it's not going to work. I'll lose my house, I'll lose my car, I'll lose everything, and it won't work. That was my attitude. I really wanted to get sober, but I just had no hope left in me. I was just like, well, why is this going to be different any other time? And it was literally, I do generally believe another few more days before getting in that treatment centre, I'd have died.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this is I was already planning on killing myself. I'd write suicide notes out to everyone. I'd planned what I was going to do, and it was all, and I was fine with it. And in my head, I was like, if this drink don't kill me in the next few days, I'll just inject myself with a shit ton of heroin, overdose, whatever, done. And around that time, I was hallucinating, I was seeing things, I was just off my rocker. I was in that bedroom off, like mentally just gone. I didn't speak to anyone, didn't answer my phone, nothing. And my phone rang, and Georgie, my key worker, said, I've got you an assessment for a rehab. Do the assessment, you'll be in straight away.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, just give it one last shot. And I did. And every single person in that rehab, every worker, everyone I met, I either learn what to do or learn what I don't want to do again.
Yeah.
And I had the most amazing therapist where I knew, I said to myself, if I don't give, there's certain things that have gone on in my life that I don't speak about, that if I don't sit with this therapist and get them out there and talk about them, I will continue to drink.
Yeah.
And I sat with this therapist and I just poured everything out to her. On about the 3rd session, just poured everything out to her. And I spent every single minute of that day doing self-development, healing, learning, sitting with those uncomfortable emotions instead of running away from them. And that's where you find strength, actually sitting with the pain and the feelings and the uncomfortable emotions. And I just rid it out. For the first time in my life, I rid it out. And then I stayed an extra 3 months. I was in there for 6 months. And I just had an amazing team of people that helped me. Like, they were all just unbelievable. And it was dialectical behavioural therapy, a lot of it was based on.
That was the first time, wasn't it, you did that?
DBT, yeah. Because I'd be in and out of hospital detoxes, and this one nurse used to say to my mum all the time, you need to get a dialectical behavioural therapy, it'll really work well for her and all this. But it's just not very accessible. So unless you've got 120 quid an hour to splurge out,
Which most addicts definitely don't have.
yeah, it just doesn't work.
What is the criteria to get into those sort of, like, how would someone else get about getting that sort of treatment
Into
the way
rehab,
you did?
the way I did. First of all, you've got to go to your local drug and alcohol services.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unfortunately, it's a postcode lottery. So it's dependent on the funding that they've got in each area.
Yeah.
For each council. I live in Shropshire, which is a massive rural county. So it's and I don't think there's so many addicts so it's a massive county that's rural, so there's not so many people in a big county,
So there's less addicts.
and I think there's less addicts as than if you was in a city like Birmingham or London or whatever. So I think it was just there, and I was really lucky with my key worker. She knew what treatment would be best for me, and it unfortunately it is luck of the draw. And this is why I say to people, never give up hope, because keep trying to get clean and sober, because you probably just haven't found a way that clicks for you yet.
I suppose it's hard for people though, that because like you were lucky in the sense that you had people around you as well pushing for it.
Yeah.
That was sober, whereas I think for a lot of people probably in your situation, well, in your old situation, but they live in the centre of Birmingham, they don't have anyone else around them, they might have friends but they don't really know what's going on. I suppose it's harder for them to sort of...
It is, but one thing I will say, it has to come from you, because anybody could have kept going on at me for ages, but something in me snapped.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you, and that's why I say the universe just went, right, it's your time. I don't know what it was, whatever, but something just made me really fight. And you will never get clean and sober unless you really want to.
Oh, it's like anything in life though, isn't it? If you don't want it yourself, you're not going to...
But what I will say is that you don't have to hit the 1,000 rock bottoms that I've hit, because there is nothing wrong with wanting to drop alcohol and change your life around. You don't have to wait until it gets as bad as it did for me. You don't have to have a rock bottom. Everyone's like, oh, you've got to have a rock bottom before you really get actually clean and sober. It doesn't have to be that way.
But do you think people just say that though because it's like the desperation then comes in? Because it's like you were like, this is my last chance, there's no hope.
Yeah.
Unless I do that. That's probably why they say it, isn't it? Like, whereas years prior you'd be like, oh, I'll be fine, I can sort it out, I'm not that bad. So it's probably harder for people in that respect in a lot of ways, because they probably use the excuses that actually nothing's wrong.
And I do think, don't ever believe that you're in any way different, where I either believed I'd have two ends of the spectrum. So throughout my addiction, I either believed I was that worthless and I had no hope of ever getting clean and sober, or I was the opposite spectrum, where it was just like, I ain't no blooming addict, I'll be able to deal with this myself.
Yeah.
So it was either a massive ego where I thought I was superior to addiction, or it was no hope, I'm a lost cause.
Yeah.
But everybody's different. Each and every individual is different. But what's not different is the opportunities and the possibility, not the possibility, but the opportunities and the places you can turn to and people you can turn to get sober. There's a lot of help out there.
Yeah.
So it's down to you and how much you want it and you want to fight for it.
Yeah.
Yes, there should be a lot more awareness around it, and the stigma needs to be dropped. Now, the statistics for the amount of alcohol-related deaths in the UK is unreal. It's off the charts. And you don't realise that alcohol is linked to 7 different types of cancers. It's massively carcinogenic, all sorts of different diseases. Women, it massively increases your chance of breast cancer. Even if you just have a glass of wine a night, your chances of breast cancer like triples or something madness. And that's the thing. There's people say it's like to do it all in moderation and safety, but there's actually not really that much safe amount of alcohol to drink.
No, I have a weird thing with alcohol. I don't even I've never had an issue with it. But I've got to a point in my life, and I don't know whether it is on the back end of you, but say if I've had a bad day or I've had a stressful day and I'm out with my mates that night, I won't have a drink. because I just don't think people understand, like, even if you are someone that doesn't suffer with mental health, or like you are quite the happy-go-lucky person, you don't understand that it still has a major effect on you. You might not even realise it.
Yeah.
And that's for the average person.
And it's a depressant at the end of the day. So when you come home from work and you think, right, I'm going to crack open a bottle of wine to help me relax, the next day it's just causing those anxieties 10 times worse. Makes nothing better. It basically gives you a bit of a dopamine hit for about 10 minutes, and then that brain chemistry starts to change again. Yeah. So it's actual bullshit about drinking to have a good time, because the way it all works is that I think it's something like it gives you that 20-minute buzz before it either becomes overkill or it wears off. So you either drink too much or it wears off. So what is the point? And this is the thing, they're doing all that in America at the minute about putting cancer labels on alcohol bottles.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Because if you said to someone, if someone said, if you offered me a fag and I'd go, no, I'll quit smoking, you'd be like, oh, that's wicked, well done. But if you offer me a glass of wine and I go, no, I'm not drinking, you'd be like, why? Not you personally, but a lot of people would be like, why? Why are you not drinking? Are you pregnant? Are you trying to lose some weight? Or what is it?
Yeah, I always make a conscious effort of this. It's like, even now, like, you'll be in a group chat and it's like, oh, we're going for like a nice meal and we're gonna have a few drinks afterwards, and you'll be like, oh, like, I'm gonna drive, I'm not gonna drink. And it is that thing is straight away like, why are you not drinking? It's like, I don't want to have a drink. I don't have to explain myself, I just don't want to have a drink, because sometimes I might not fancy it. But it is that stigma, and it's like, but I think it's quite sad, because I think it's like people have to have a drink to have a personality. And to me, you go out, everyone's drunk, and I just think every single person that's here is drinking to have the confidence to speak to people. And I think it's actually quite sad that the majority of our generation can't go into a pub and genuinely just be sober and speak to everyone, because of this, it masks everything that everyone's feeling. And it's almost, I always think, if someone judges you for not drinking,
they've got a problem. But
it's almost like a jealousy thing. It's like, how can you go out, have a good time and have a night out and not feel the need to have a drink to give you that confidence?
And that all comes with self-development, and people don't want to look at themselves and their own emotions. A lot of people don't want to do that, and I didn't want to do that for years and years and years, and look where it led me. By sitting through those painful emotions and processing and dealing with shit, I realised I like myself today. I'm a bit out there, I'm a bit nuts, but I like myself today. I know I'm a good person today.
Yeah.
Can you laughing at that?
Lila's laughing.
Oh, it's nice.
I love it when she does that proper laugh.
It's nice when you spend some time together. Don't spend much time together, to be fair.
Just for context, that's
my daughter and our mum. I've lost my train of thought. So yeah, and it is sad, and it is massively. And I think back in the past, if you didn't drink, you were like, oh, you can't handle your drink, you wuss, or whatever. Or but if you was an alcoholic, the other way, you would be seen as having a massive moral failing.
So you've got to have that right balance, and you can't.
Yeah, and then we've got the generation where you've got to drink to have a good time. And I do think we're slowly coming out, and it's becoming more acceptable. Not acceptable, but it's more, the sobriety movement is getting more prevalent. But I don't know whether that's just because I'm in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, do you know what? I know it sounds daft, but since we had this Instagram for this podcast, I didn't realise how many accounts are out there with sobriety.
Yeah, tons.
But then, like, because my Instagram isn't like that, mine's just generally just my mates. Like, I don't follow anyone that I don't know, or like a celebrity, not that I'm not bothered about them anyway, that I want to follow. So I don't see it, whereas I've seen a different round of it, and I think no one else would know how much is out there. Like, I saw, like, we had a few people following us recently, and it was like sober bar, alcohol-free bars in Birmingham.
I'm supporting one.
Oh,
at
yeah.
the, I've got a few different sober events coming up that I'm doing, and different launches I'm doing, which once I know the exact dates for everything, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, got a few alcohol-free events coming
I
up.
just think it's mad because sometimes, and like I say, like to Dan, I'll be
My
like,
fella.
I'll be like, we'll sometimes want to go out, but we don't want to drink. But then it's like you go to a bar, and it's like, it is a thing that you go out, it's like, oh, stuff it, let's have a cocktail. And I said, like, you can still run like a date night, go out in Birmingham, get dressed up, and you can still feel like, because sometimes you do want to have that glass of wine, you just want to hold that glass of wine, but like, you can have that without actually coming home and being hammered.
Yeah.
And you can still get that experience of feeling like you're going out and enjoying yourself.
There's a lot more than you think out there to do things like that.
It's really good. I think it's a really good thing to do.
It is, and it is getting better, and there's still a long way to go, but but that is changing people's mindsets. That is, and there's some people's mindsets you will never change, but around alcohol. But I'll just continue pushing that message out. People probably get annoyed with me as well. Oh, bang on alcohol free, do you know the warnings, do you know this, do you know that? I don't really care. Cause
but it's your job at the end of the day.
it's my job, but it's also something I'm passionate about.
And you know, I always think people that are judgmental in that situations is Debbie Downer Brian that works in a call centre and has got no passion because he's earning like minimum wage, making dead phone calls each day,
But I ain't got the art. What's the word? I ain't got the motivation to do something about it.
That's what I mean. I think I do you know what, I saw this really good quote the other day, and it was like you're a weirdo before you're a genius, or something along that line.
I'm going to turn into the biggest genius ever one day soon, then.
That's what they say.
I'm getting clever. No.
But that's what they say. There is like people judge you before, like when you aren't doing well for yourself, but you're passionate about something, people just think, oh, they're bloody weird for doing that. But then the second you do well or do well off it, people then go, oh god, they're a genius. I want to know them. I want to do this, that, and this.
Oh, I've had some right comments I have about obviously doing what I do on social media with Sober Coaster and whatever, and it's like, well, do I care? I believe in what I'm promoting, and okay, yeah, obviously I make money off my courses and my clients, and I've made a living out of it. But ultimately, I only started up like following my sober journey over the years, and it was kind of something to help me keep accountable back in the past. Because Sober Coaster started a good few years ago, then the account went dead for a good few years. When I relapsed.
I remember you doing a post when you were 3 months sober, and you were pissed when you posted it.
And that was years ago, yeah. So years ago,
I forgot that was on there.
It was when my nan died, so, well, you're nan and all. So, I'd got sober for 3 months and I'd started up this Instagram account.
Yeah.
But I relapsed on my 90 days sober. And then I just had to stop. And then the account basically closed then. And then I reopened it again when I actually properly got sober. And I weren't just running off.
Yeah.
Nothing. Self-will. But yeah. Crazy. Sister Spat of the Week.
Don't quit your day job.
Oh, it was quite good. Sister Spat of the Week.
No, I've got something big to tell everyone.
What?
Your eyebrows don't look like sperms anymore. They look so much better.
I don't know. Have I filled them in today? I can't remember.
Yeah, they look so... So just for context, Liv's eyebrows always look like sperms for years. And every time I see it, I go, Liv, just trim your eyebrows. Just don't do the front bit like sperms. And you've done them. And you look so much better.
You know what was the crucial point why I did it?
Right.
When we were sat in here the other week and you said that Mum's eyebrows are better than mine, I was like, I can't go with this. I'm just going to have to go with this, getting rid of the end bits and see what happens.
Yeah, it's better, man. Your eyebrows shape your whole face.
I look at... See, my spermy eyebrows, I used to look in the mirror and think, they're fine. but I'd look back on pictures and go, oh, they're bad.
But
But
I think
now I look back at pictures that I've took recently since I've done them, and I think actually maybe she's right.
But I think as well, they don't look orange now either.
How come plucking them make them look
No,
orange?
I think-
How can they look orange in the
I
first
think
place?
I used to film in, you used to film in too dark. I used to do it too, so I can't say anything, but like, you used to film in too dark.
Got my
So
glasses
much
on.
better.
Got my glasses on today, so you can't really tell. But
That's
Yeah.
my comment of the week.
what spat have you got of the week?
That you pissed me off that your eyebrows were like spurs, now they're not.
It used to really wind her up, and I don't get why she was that bothered about it, to be honest.
I don't know what it was. It's worse than anything. Like, stuff all the alcohol and all that over the years, it's just the eyebrows.
Not the eyebrows. But I couldn't. Mom's got no eyebrows at all, and when you said that, I was like, I went home, and I just got the tweezers and went out.
Do you know what? Sometimes tough love, innit?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to give it tough for you to actually listen, and it worked.
Everyone else might think they look shit though, so get the sperms back. Honestly, I've got to say, my eyebrows have been the brunt of conversation since about 12 years of age. I remember my friends trying to do them differently and everything. It was just a thing that has continued.
You were a generation of plucking eyebrows. We weren't. Like, of that 4 years made a big difference in the eyebrow
You look at the
history.
Spice Girls back in the day, man, they had no eyebrows. And that's what we aspired to be like. A zig, if you want to be my lover. Wish I could sing.
Yeah, you can't sing.
I know what we can talk about on the Sister Spat. This is a Sister Spat that has gone on for a decade or more. Because the last one we filmed was before Christmas. So we could talk about this. So, Christmas, right? We've got our presents.
I think this was a really good present idea, personally, but...
Last year we didn't do presents. Things were still a bit tense, weren't they?
Yeah, I told you to do one.
Yeah, I asked you what you wanted for Christmas and you were like, fuck off. I'm happy what you wanted for Christmas. Anyway, so back in my mid to late teens, I used to drive around in my 1960s Mini, bright orange Mini, with my ukulele. I had a little ukulele that I loved, and this ukulele went everywhere. Then one day, the ukulele disappeared.
So you're
Right.
telling this children's story?
It disappeared. Me thinking, fuck me, I've been off my nut and I've left it in the woods or something, or thinking, I just put it...
Why is it in the woods?
I put it down to me being drunk and it disappeared, but I couldn't fathom out why this ukulele had disappeared. And then when was it? A year or two ago? Or was it recently?
It was when you were moving, because you were getting stuff out the garage. You must have been moving or something, because you were getting stuff out the garage, and obviously.
Well, I've moved that many times.
I don't know when it was. It was a few years ago now.
So then anyway, a few years ago, so about a decade later, right? Clearing stuff out my mother's garage, moving for the 17th millionth time. And lo and behold, what do I find but a broken ukulele?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what happened to the
I'll
ukulele?
explain what happened. So, I used to have my guitars on the wall in my bedroom.
You still do?
Still do. And because I was a short arse, still am, I had to stand on my bed to grab the guitars and I had to sort of like wiggle back onto my bed. And your ukulele was on the beanbag underneath said guitars.
So why was my ukulele in your room in the
Because I was
first place?
playing it. Which happened.
No doubt without my permission. Carry
Or
on.
whatever. And so I was trying this ukulele. Bearing in mind, I was like, shit, what do I do? I was told by parents, by a guardian, like I didn't make this decision. A guardian said to me, just hide it in the garage.
So mum and dad told you to hide it in the
yeah,
garage?
I didn't do anything.
Mum and dad?
I think it might just be mum. I can't remember it.
Slag. So they said, what, hide it in the garage, and what to tell
I
Liv?
think the principle of what it was they were like, if we'll basically hide it for now. I think Dad must be like, I'll fix it and then give it back to her. But I think that fixing just never happened. And then you obviously...
Because I used to sit there and say, for years, where did my ukulele go? What's happened to my ukulele? And your mum can't lie for toffee, can her? And she always used to pull this weird face. And I think, what's wrong with her? But anyway, so Christmas morning, I opened my presents and Charlotte brought me a ukulele. 15 years after she broke the first one.
Technically, my guardian should have been the one to replace it.
Guardian, it's your parent or guardian. They're your parents. I had to say it.
Guardian. Saying guardian. They should have owed you a ukulele, technically, because I was told to hide it. I was just a naive kid.
So I'm practicing that again.
Cool, man.
It's good. I'll be coming round next week when I was cleaning the window.
For fuck's sake. A little ukulele. Just, yeah, I'll have Layla screaming, you playing ukulele, I'll be yapping. I'll be at the house that day.
So guys, what we want you to do is go over to either TikTok, Instagram, email us, whatever you want to do, and send us in. I'll put my business number on here as well, actually.
Like a cut.
So yeah, send us in your sister spats, loved one spats, questions, what you want to hear more of, any of that shebang, and we will see you next Sunday at 8 p.m. Goodbye for now.
Peace and pout.
Peace.